You're listening to The Rough Draft, a not-so-average personal development podcast for purpose-driven women ready to rewrite their story. It's a show about evolution, changing narratives, and rewriting our life's rough drafts. I interview some of the world's top female leaders in business, energetics, love, relationships, money, and personal power about their humble beginnings and shifts that got them here. I'm your host, Sabrina Greer, writer, speaker, book publisher, serial entrepreneur, and mentor to women in life and business. Let's rewrite. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rough Draft podcast. I am super excited about today's guest. I have my friend and author, Krista Lee Beeler, here today, and her book is now available. Her debut poetry book, Cry With Me, Sister, We Rise at Dawn, is available today on Amazon, but we will talk about that in just a moment. Let me introduce you first. Krista Lee Beeler is a poet and trauma-informed educator whose words hold space for the soft, broken, and rising parts of us all. Her work centers around the power of remembrance, of who we were before the world told us how or who to be. With a background in trauma education and a heart rooted in healing, Krista gently guides others through the spiral path of transformation. She believes in the sacredness of breakdowns as portals to breakthroughs and the radical truth that it's okay to break. You can get her debut book today, a powerful poetry collection, Cry With Me, Sister. It'll be available on Amazon and bookstores everywhere. She's also the founder of Kind Spirit Kids, an initiative nurturing emotional literacy and compassionate education for the next generation. Krista, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to let you take the floor and tell us a little bit more about yourself, the non-bio version, as we like to call it over here. Take it away.
All right. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. I really appreciate that. So I mean, first and foremost, I identify as like a wife and a mother. Yes, I founded Kind Spirit Kids, and that was really kind of my sachet out of traditional education systems. I used to be a teacher and just really wanting to bring emotional education to the forefront. I think it's not as accessible as it needs to be. And I think our communities really suffer with the weight of mental health and not having really good, strong resources in place to support that. And as someone who had to figure out the tools and ways to heal in her 30s, I just wanted to provide children with that toolkit from day one as a form of prevention. I also really enjoy working one-on-one with women who have experienced sexual abuse, as that is something that I have healed with through writing the poetry of this book. And in that process, I really like to just shine a mirror for every woman and show her what she's capable of after lifting the weight of her traumatic experiences and really accessing the power that she was born with from within. I I've had a collection of traumatic experiences. While this book really centers around my experience with sexual abuse, I did grow up in a home with an addict, and so that had its own experiences. And I've sort of been a collector of these experiences my entire life. And what I've come to find is that I have this resiliency that allows me to look at these experiences in the face and decide to take ownership over my own life and empower myself to move through them and turn them into power. I wrote poetry my entire life as a childhood, dealing with things in my home that were going on. And as they kind of started to stack up and sexual abuse came into the mix, I pushed poetry away. I thought that it was the best way for me to just disassociate. And, I had tired out from that accumulation and just really wanted to step away from it all and pretend and continue to people please and be a perfectionist and all the things. And then what happened is, years down the line, physical illness started to catch up with me. The holding got too heavy for my body, and came the moment where it all needed to come spilling out. And in that initial break, I was super confused and detached from who I was. And what I was supposed to do. I knew that there was work involved, but it seemed more of a buzzword at the time than actual direction. And so I just kind of allowed the voice of my body to come through and the poetry to open up again. And then it really started to communicate back to me not only what I'd been through and what I'd felt, but what I need to do to get out of it and what I need to do to move forward. And so I'm so grateful to my body for having been able to access that communication with me and work with me in the process of shedding a lot of the weight and trauma that I have experienced. And it's not to say that healing is done because it never is. And I don't think it is. I think we ride this spiral and we're always kind of coming back to a new thing under the similar umbrella that we need to heal and look at next. And I think it's beautiful. And it's a process that I now trust and surrender and welcome to come in. But the last phase or ride of spiral that I took on my sexual abuse wound really led me to my voice. And so that's where I decided I actually think this poetry has a place in the world. I think it needs to be there. I think I would have really found value in finding poetry in sisterhood like this if I had access to it when I was first breaking wide open and didn't really know what to do. And so I'm really hoping that at the end of the day, this book is the sisterhood that those women out there might need to get their healing going.
Uh, I love it. And it's so true. I often hear from authors that we write the book we wish we had when we were in the thick
Yes.
of things, when we were in the throes of our trauma. And it's so true, right? Because collective healing is a thing. We learn from other people's stories, we learn from other people's growth. And it's not about comparison, it's about really feeling seen and feeling heard. And I think that happens. And I think too, we're expanding that field because I don't think it's always been the case. We only just recently have access to things like social media, and
Yeah.
we're more connected than, or the ability to be more connected is there than ever before, but how we use it, how we leverage it is unique to us. And I think it's so important to genuinely connect, to really connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's not about trauma bonding or, comparison. As I mentioned, it's really about feeling seen and heard and understood and amplifying our voices so that we can give others permission to do the same. And I think that's what you've really done here in a magical, poetic, artistic way is you've shared your story through words, through art, through poetry. And I love it. I love where you're going with this. I see so much potential. So what do you think, like what is next for this movement of yours? Like where are you going? Tell us about the next step, the next chapter in your story.
Yeah. Sisterhood and circling with sisters and women has been the cornerstone of my strength and power, really. There's something very unique and special about that womb space all sitting together in a circle and just like channeling energy together. And when I was living in Ontario for a while, my first circle experiences were starting to happen around 2010, 2012, and I was gathering. And then come 2020, I moved away 2 provinces out to New Brunswick, and I didn't have a sisterhood. And I was like, I need this. I can't live without this. And I don't know anybody here, but I'm going to make something happen. I had a close friend move out to New Brunswick with us, close family friends. And so her and I were just like, we're going to make this happen. And the first few rounds, we're pulling at straws, like old neighbors or like anybody we meet, grocery store, library, like, do you want to come to this thing? Like, I really think it's going to be great. And then, long story short, we have this women's group called Rising Strong, and there's over 100 women across New Brunswick in it. And they're gathering not just with me, but in their own neighborhoods and circles. And it kind of became this thing all of its own. And it's everything to me. And so I really want to be the spearhead of circle and sisterhood for anybody who doesn't have access to that, who doesn't have it in their world. I think it's invaluable and priceless. I prioritize it over many things because it really does just help me process my emotions and continue to expand and move forward as a woman and as a matriarch in my family and all of the things. And so I'm hoping to start to build that. And the beauty of, like you said, the internet and this opportunity to connect is that we're not limited to where we live. And as I take on a world of traveling more and more with my kids as we world school and show them different cultures and things like this, I need something that's accessible as well. So it's kind of for me, but also for other, because sisterhood and circlehood, yeah, I think it's really important. So with all that being said, I've started a monthly full moon circle journal prompt situation where I'm sending out journal prompts that really harness the energy of the full moon and your radiance and what you can really look at and access and really maximize the potential of that month. And eventually, I would love to get those circle journal prompts a supplementary kind of virtual opportunity to share what came up for them. And so that, again, women can start to be vulnerable and open up about the things they're currently working on, because that is the wisdom and medicine that circle brings you. Is another sister starts to talk and saying what's on her heart, and most of the time you're like, she could be talking about me. And there's nothing more validating than understanding that other people are going through what you're going through, other people are dealing with what you're dealing with, and that you're not alone. And so I just find that really powerful. And since writing and poetry has been such a cathartic process for my healing, I use it a lot with my clients on one-on-ones as well. And so I'd really love to start to build that network for healing as well. And so I'm looking to create a program where people can sign up and start to access this communication with their body through prompting and meditation and invitations for your body to just start to communicate to you, because I think we can surprise ourselves with, when we quiet our minds and our hearts, what our bodies have to say. I think it takes a lot of effort and intention to even access that voice in today's world. And so I would love to guide women into that connection with their body and themselves, and pen and paper.
Beautiful. I love it. And I can see all of that happening for you too. And we'll link everything that is available now in the show notes
Yes.
so people can explore and sign up and join what you have going on, because I think this is just the beginning of a global movement, women, and it's not about feminism. And I think that's a big piece that comes up in my world a lot. Oh, you're a feminist. Oh, you only care about women. And, that is not the case. I have 3 sons. I think the most important work I do in this world is raising them to be proper humans.
Mhm.
It is nothing to do with gender. It is everything to do with amplifying the voices of those who have been silenced
Yeah.
for centuries. We're not
Yes.
talking new. This isn't new. This is old wisdom. This is
Mhm.
witches being burned at the stake. This is and
Honestly.
it's unbelievable the backlash I get from a lot of society as a mother of cisgendered males, and that this is feminism. Can you talk a little bit to that? Because I
Yeah, I
know
would
I
love
know we
to actually. I
share.
have so much coming up for me
Yeah.
because I
And I know
also
we
have
share
a
a lot
son.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also get spoken to, because I prioritize women, and I've also had people um, who wanted to join my circles under the pretense of, why can't it be inclusive? And, to that, I just say that, well, there's so much the genders can learn from each other. And I think it's super valuable to have a very balanced understanding of each other. I think that doesn't mean that it's not important to also just gather in like gender, because there is just a rooted understanding of life experience that we share. And that goes for the same for, minority groups gathering, or people of the same religion gathering. It's like, when you have this thing, this life experience to relate to, there's just something to that needs to happen. And so while I could sit in a circle, and I have, because I do have co-ed circles with my intimate group of friends, like every New Year's we have a circle with, my friends. It's husband and wife combos, and we hold circle for each other, and we plan for the next year. And so it's not that I don't think that's important, because I think it is. It's just, it doesn't mean it's not important for just women to gather, or just men to gather as well. And I just think that there's something that we can give each other in our experience, and having that shared life experience, that just, it's not the same as going across gender. And I think that it's important. And so it's not to say that it's anti this or anti that. It's just acknowledging what is and making sure that we make time for that too, because there's lots of time for all the other things as well, you know?
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's an important part because it does come up a lot. And I'm sure you also get it a lot, the questions as to why. And I think it's important. And we talk about sisterhood, and sisterhood is women gathering, and we talk about women rising. And I have a foundation that is dedicated to girls and female youth. And I just think it's important to say that out loud because
Yeah.
I do, as a mom of three sons, I believe, as I said, the most important work I do is showing them the way. It's teaching them how to be the next generation
Yeah.
of human. And I
Yep.
think it's really important. But uh, women are different, and that's okay. We have different priorities, we have different thoughts, we have different feelings, and we need to embrace that energetically and have space to safely do that. And when
Yeah.
you're, especially in your world, dealing with women who've experienced sexual abuse and assault, women need to feel safe for their
Yeah.
story to be held and to be shared in a place where they can trust that it's safe there. So I love the work that you're doing. It's so aligned with the work that I'm attempting to do in the world as well. And
Mhm.
I think the more we talk about this openly without feeling afraid to, speak up about it, because there is a such thing as woke feminism, and there are a
Yeah.
lot of negatives that go along with that. This is not what that is. This is something different. This is embracing our soul. This is embracing our energetics, our frequency on this planet. And I think it's important to put that out there. And I
Yeah.
love how you've done it through art. Anyone can enjoy the art. Anyone could pick up your book and receive gender, location,
Yeah.
socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter. It is inclusive. It's just when we gather in circle, it is for women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think my husband, he longs for connecting with men, and oftentimes in a man's world, there's the dynamics of like how sensitive and emotional can you be and what is permitted. And it's like, yes, I understand there's a need for men's circles. That's not my job to spearhead. That's not my job to organize, but I'm going to champion that being a mission for someone 100%, And so it's just also knowing your lane and what you can provide. Yeah,
Yeah. But I totally agree. It's needed in the world. And I think we're moving in that direction
totally.
where, masculine energetics, feminine energetics, like we're seeing things more on an energy and a frequency level than ever before. And
Hmm.
that's not gender specific. That is a frequency that's out there. So yeah, I think we're learning. We're learning and unlearning and
All
growing
the
and
time.
twisting and all of the bits and all the things constantly.
Hmm.
Evolution and growth over an entire lifetime, right? As that's the spiral. That's the exactly
Yeah,
what you speak to. So I
yeah,
love that. Oh, well, I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. And I'm sure so many other people listening feel the same way. So we're going to link the links for Amazon in the show notes. So go get your copy today of Cry With Me, Sister. We Rise at Dawn. Beautiful book of poetry, debut book by Krista Lee Beeler. Can you share with us any nuggets of wisdom, anything you want to leave the listeners with?
I think, it's hard to pinpoint the one thing you want to say, right? But I think at the end of the day, I really am looking to be of service to women right now. And I can feel that there's something I want to pass on and hold space for. And so, to anyone who is currently feeling stuck under the weight of their trauma or their experiences, I want them to know that you are safe and protected to go into the dark, to lean into the messy, to feel everything that you're feeling authentically and not in shame or in hiding. And once you do that, you have access to things that you were gifts that you were born with. And so just want to encourage anyone who listens to this to do the work.
I love that. Would you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you read a poem to close it out? Would you read
I
us
mean,
something?
sure. I think the intro poem is kind of fitting.
Yeah,
Um, so there's one
perfect.
poem in the book that is handwritten, and yeah. So it's called I'll Leave These Here for You. I never thought I'd share all these poems, too raw, too real. That's how hiding goes. One day the details just kept replaying. It was time to talk. I had to start saying. The shame had lifted from embarrassed to proud. Next thing I knew, I could speak it out loud. It's more than okay to crumble, to break, to hold what spills out, the dark and the ache. Healing is messy, that much is true, but through the discomfort emerges the true you. If the breaking feels heavy, the trigger's too loud, I get it. Go slowly. Let the shifting come out. Maybe you'll see some of you in here and learn that your healing moves through many gears. It starts with the breaking, but then comes the rise, which leads to the radiance, a lovely surprise. And finally, I share how sisterhood supports. Welcome to my healing. These poems are now yours.
I can't wait. Krista also shares a lot of poetry from the book and things that didn't make this book on her social media. So we'll link that as well. You can go find her on Instagram and she has a website. We're going to link it all in the show notes. So, Krista, thank you so much for being here with us today and for putting this beautiful book out into the world and for the work that you're doing in communities and for the world at large. We are grateful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sabrina.
And thank you again for tuning in.